I've done a couple things to the Dio. Now that it's Saturday and I've got the day off, this is my day. I have all this junk here. Me and my wife are pack rats. Of course, here's a car I built when I was 17. I firmly believed that when at 25 life was over, and that's why I wanted to do as much living as I could. This is a 68 SS Camaro with the 67 front end. I bought it because it was cheaper than all the hidden headlights. It has an LS6 427 in it, 671 blower, 2 Holley center squirters, weigh-in full race manifold, and a 3-inch Krager blower drive, 10% overdriven. Now back to the bike. And of course, as always, I wish I never sold it. But I found some interesting things on the bike that I'm working on. The first thing I did was, as I explained in the last video, the bike was cutting out at top speed, just a little bit. So I raised the needle right here, just 1 notch. Now there's 5 notches in the needle that you can raise. What you do when the carburetors are sold, they're sold with the C-clip, which is in every one of these. It is in the middle position, or you can count 1, 2, 3 from the top, or 1, 2, 3 from the bottom on the needle where the deal is. Now if you're not getting enough gas, what you do is you raise the jet needle 1 clip length, and what that does is it just gives the carburetor more fuel as you're opening the throttle to wide open. And this throttle has really worked good. The stage 6 throttle has worked really good for me. Now I was looking over the bike and I was tightening up these nuts right here, and what I do on the nuts is I don't use any kind of Loctite or anything like that, because if you go and try and take these off, sometimes you can take the stud, which goes all the way down to here, out of the block, which is not going to do you any good. Especially with these big motors, you don't have a lot of meat with all the aluminum taken out. So I took off my castle nuts. That's what these are, right here. And I tightened everything down. I tightened all my what do they call them? Hose clamps. They're called Jubilee clamps in Europe. I didn't know that. But another thing I was looking at was I looked right down here at this exhaust pipe and I said, wait a minute, what is that? Right underneath the exhaust pipe is the starter, or was the starter. So this is the first time I'm pulling it out, and if you look real close, this is where the starter attached, right here. This motor has so much torque and so much power that it busted the ears. That's an ear right there. It busted the ear right off the starter. Now you notice, okay, I want you to look at the ear right here. So I don't do it right over the engine where there's all this noise and things. What I do is I pull the starter right over a flat area. That way you get a better contrast in looking. Now this is all part of making videos, where if you want to really show a particular area, you want to have a background that is all flat. So my starter got ripped off by the motor, which is phenomenal, I would say. I've tightened everything down. I'm going to put it back together and run it. It's running very well, except for, like I said, it needs a new yellow spring in the bottom. But the one thing you want to do when you're adjusting your engine, or any kind of engine, you don't want to do 5 or 6 adjustments at once, because you're not sure exactly what the problem is. You want to do 1 or 2 adjustments, take the bike out and ride it and see if it makes a difference. If it doesn't, then you keep adjusting. I also took my stage 6 clutch deal, remote clutch, choke lever, and I have adjusted it more. With all the fairing and everything, I can't get at the clutch. So what I did was I bought this stage 6 thing from, I think it's called SP Moto in Canada. And it goes underneath here, all the way over to here, and it goes right there. And then I put a hole right here. And as you can see, it says stage 6 right there. Now what that does is, when you always need a choke to start these things. But what you do is you lift this up like that. Okay, that means the choke is on. That has lifted the little spring-loaded choke dealie in there. What that does is, when that is lifted up, it allows air to go through to the engine while your Ventura, or you can see the slide, while the slide is down. The only other way to start the bike, if you want to start your bike quick, is to hold your throttle wide open like that. And you can see the slide is going up and down, up. And then you want to take a look at that slide and make sure that that slide is going all the way to the top, and so your airway is completely free, because a lot of these carburetors are adjusted to where 10% of the slide does not go to the top. Well, if you do that, you've got to remember that air and fuel make horsepower. So if you restrict your carburetor passageway, you're not going to get as much air or as much power. So that's where I'm at right now with the Honda Repsol. It's running better than it's ever has. I think it's because of my work I've done on the Boyson reeds, which are really good. I've got a lot of really crisp response and everything else. So I'm going to put this back together. My wife put in all new flooring, gave her something to do besides scream and bitch at me as usual. And then, of course, our ice maker ran out yesterday. So what does the wife do? She unplugs this refrigerator and goes and buys an $1,800 one. This is some of her relatives in Russia. Okay.